have actually done quite a bit on the Hudson, and everything from looking directly at fisheries to trying to understand how humans affect the system by what we do and when we develop in watersheds. So I had some funding from HRF to look at that with some ecological economists, and that was super interesting. So I think I learned a lot of very basic ecology, ecosystem science, to everything from how the system, asking questions about how the system works, to getting into extremely geeky things like looking at the chemistry of the earstones and things like that. So it's a place that has a lot of diversity. It also has, I think, you may find that it has people with a very strong sense of place. So I've been quite aware of the Hudson River collection for a long time. In fact, before I started my PhD, I worked at a place at Cornell called the Ecosystem Research Center. We did wrote a book about environmental impact assessment in the Hudson. So we had a lot of contact with various parties. So I'm still concerned about anadromous fishes or diadromous fishes in the Hudson. And it really sort of pains me that the species that I studied for my PhD is not ranked as important anymore, I guess, because the focus seems to be on river herring for the Alosa fishes now. And American shad was not only very important in the Hudson, it was one of the most important commercially fished species for a very long time in the US. I mean, it was basically up there with cod and maybe salmon. There were a lot of power plants located on the Hudson, but at the time, the economically profitable ones used open cycle cooling, which means that you draw in water to cool the boilers and you discharge it as heated water. And and I can tell you, I've been in the outflow of some of them just accidentally when I was beach sanding, and pretty hot. There's an area that's hot. In the wintertime, it really attracts fish, but in the summer it can cook them. And if the fish are drawn in, then they're going to cook, and that doesn't help the system at all. The larger fish were blocked off by screens that were called impingement screens. And well, they were just called screens, probably cleaning racks or something, but they also became kind of a big target of the inquiry because they did kill a lot of fish. The fish that got stuck on those screens just died basically because the flow was so high. I do know that there at several of the large plants there were there was sort of steady work doing sorting through those. So it was always part of the annual assessment, was not only the Long River and the fall shoals and all that stuff, but also the entrainment, as it's called, sucking in the small larvae and plankton and stuff. There was a small group of us who said you should be using your telescope, if you will, broadly. You should be casting a broad net and keeping a data stream going that will help inform you if there are new unknown things that happen. The data at a sort of a coarse scale, it was very interesting to read that, but there's a lot of sort of more specifics that the data sets can be tied to with local and regional knowledge too. So I think that's where you get a lot of benefit from looking beyond the walls of Stony Brook too, is to engage with all manner of people outside.